Welcome to the Waiting List podcast. Tell us the story.
It's like many things you start building from scratch.
And then I'm like, wait, I really do like watches because
you've seen so many watches. That makes you excited.
Yeah, I think I really do like watches.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to see if you are a watch enthusiast.
Thank you for tuning into the Waiting List podcast. You are joined today with me, Alex, and my co-host, Daniel. As we do these podcasts, I kind of have to maintain a level of constraint to my enthusiasm. But today will be rather challenging as I'm joined by none other than my dear friend, Mr. Hugo Jacomet of Parisian Gentleman and Sartorial Talks. So thank you, Hugo, for joining us today.
Pleasure, Alex. Pleasure. Always a pleasure to be with you, my friend.
Thank you for connecting.
I will say, Hugo, that Alex has made the biggest effort for you today in the way his hair, like in the way his attire, the way he's dressed. We have done, I don't know, at least 50 odd episodes, must be 50 odd episodes. And I've never seen him make so much effort for anybody, even if it's a lady. So it just shows the huge impact you have on his life. And aside from this, before this podcast,
oh my God,
Alex could not keep talking about you. He just kept talking about you all the time.
I want to make it absolutely clear. No. I don't want to take any away from that message there, but actually, I do normally wear a suit, so I'm a little bit more dressed down. Actually, so take that as you may. But for our listeners, as a kind of a hint there that may not know the Sartorial world that well, Hugo is a prominent figure and he's got multiple publications, videos, and recently podcasts. And he discussed everything Sartorial. So certainly something to check out after this podcast. And today we do want to talk about watches, but from a stylistic perspective. But before we continue, Hugo, do you mind sharing to our audience, and for those that may not know, what does the word Sartorial mean to you and how do you interpret it?
Oh, well, that's a good question because we are struggling with this word specifically in France because in France it doesn't exist. We use it quite usually in English. Well, Sartorial, it's becoming from the Italian root called Sartor. Sartor means tailor in English. Problem is that in French, to do the same, we will have to use a full sentence. So we use Sartorial as, it's not a linguistic thought because one of my contributors is a linguistic doctor. So we've been checking this. So Sartorialist describes any effort, anything that tends to move toward a more elegant life. And when we say a more elegant life, of course, it implies for most of us a passion for anything custom made or tailored, tailoring, whether it be the summit of the pyramid, that is to say the bespoke tailoring, that's to say the highest level of handmade garments made to your measure, that is to say a unique suit made from a unique pattern for a unique individual. But Sartorial has evolved over the years. We are doing this here since 2009. So we are the grandfathers of this kind of thing. I think we were actually the first professional bloggers in the fashion industry in the world. But so it evolved Sartorial to a meaning which is broader than only the way you are clothing yourself, the way you dress. It's moving toward, I like to call it some kind of a counterculture in this very aggressive and very vulgar and very strange world in which we live, in which people don't really care anymore about how they look, about how they present themselves, but also how they interact with others. So Sartorial and Sartorialism for me it's almost a counterculture of a philosophy of life. That's you want to look like yourself and you don't want to look like anybody else. And it implies also a kind of an attitude because you can be the best dressed man in the world and still being an asshole. I'm sorry for the asshole, but you understand. You can still, even the guy who's dressing
Yes.
with the best garments in the world, if he doesn't carry the right attitude with it, and it's not an attitude of showing off, it's more an attitude of making people at ease in your company. This is, for me, one of the best definition of the sartorial lifestyle. But it goes far, because when you go into that road, it's not about egocentrism only. It's really about some kind of old concept like, I don't know, politeness, kindness, also respect for others, and also the fact that when you dress bespoke in a sartorial way, you use tailors, you just feel incredibly good with yourself.
So is it internal? Because like I'm absorbing all that information. Are you trying to say the whole point of sartorial is trying to build yourself inside out?
So yeah, it's well, it goes both ways actually, because you discover when young people, they start their sartorial path, they immediately notice the artwork changes. You know, people just notice immediately. They said, "Oh wow!" They don't know how exactly. The first time I had my bespoke suit, my first bespoke suit back in 2006, I remember walking in the street with this Chiffonelli Paris bespoke masterpiece. And people were literally looking at me like I was falling from the moon, but they couldn't say exactly why. You know, and that's what I love a lot about that. They can't say exactly why. Okay, well, I had a beautiful suit, but nobody could imagine that this suit required 80 hours of work by hand. So it means that the outward impact has almost immediately an inward impact. That is to say, it transforms you inside, because when you are, how do you say that? When you are in agreement with yourself, when you feel good with yourself, when you feel at your best, automatically you don't even have to look for it. It changes your attitude. And people sometimes make a mistake. They speak about how this guy wants to be proud, or he wants to be the most handsome, or he wants to be, no. It's not about that. I would say it's a kind of it's almost a kind of may I use the word spiritual? You know, it's something which is really anchored to yourself. And it's a fantastic, this is why it's a reaction. You know, it started as a reaction against the vulgarity of the world and the fact that people are dressing in sweatpants and t-shirts. I have nothing against sweatpants and t-shirts, because I just finished my workout session. I am myself in a sweatpants because I just did my workout. I don't do my workout in bespoke suits, unfortunately, but maybe with the new range of, you know, the very technical fabrics now that there are stretching fabrics, and then you can wash your suit in the washing machine. But still, it's so it was a reaction first, and then it became little by little a real counterculture. That is to say, what was the norm yesterday, wearing a suit and tie and being at your best, is not the norm anymore. It's becoming the exception. I don't know what's the situation in Hong Kong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same all around the world. And when you wear a suit, all of a sudden you can look around you, and most of the time you're pretty much alone. Yeah.
I have two questions leading from what you've just said there. One is the vulgarity that you say has entered into our world. Like, why? No, the first question is why? How has it made that transition from where originally being very smart and now wearing a lot more casual clothes out and about? How did that actually happen? And then it'd be interesting to see, because you said it's the ability to put others at ease, which is very key. But even when people sometimes they wear a bespoke suit, you know, I find that it's a power play. It's actually not designed to make you feel at ease. It's to make them feel like they're better than you, or show off than you, or try and impose their alpha male tendencies on you. So what is the difference there? Because sometimes if a guy does wear a suit and he doesn't intend to be like that, you will automatically feel a bit, oh, it's a bit
intimidated,
formal now.
right?
Yeah, intimidated. Yeah. So two questions there. How did the vulgarity or the more casualness of people wearing clothes come in and become adopted? And then secondly, that balance, like what is the difference between something sartorial and what I just said about people trying to flex?
You've been trying to show off, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm going to try to, this is two good questions. Congratulations. You are going to the heart of the subject. When I speak about vulgarity, I'm using on purpose some outraging word because it might not be that vulgar. But I think something happened. I would say because if we look at the golden age of menswear and men's style, we all look at the 1940s, 1950s, the golden age of Hollywood. Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, Fred Astaire, Jimmy Stewart, or whoever. And I did a show recently on that, and I was asked by my viewers and followers, what is my style icon of the 2020? And I always have a lot of difficulties to answer to that because immediately my mind turns to Fred Astaire or to Gary Cooper or to Cary Grant, and obviously those people are not here anymore. I think something happened, and I think it happened pretty much in the United States of America in the 1950s and 1960s. First of all, this is the American way. The American way, they are always looking for convenience, comfort, convenience. I don't really care how I look, I really care how I feel. So that was in the 1950s and 60s with the invention of the sack suit, for example, by Brooks Brothers. That is to say, this suit, which is, the word says it all, it's a sack suit. So it's something very large, very comfortable, with no real shape, like a sack, more or less, and it became a trend. And then these people invented, a decade after, they invented this terrible casual Friday. That became something it was supposed to be some kind of audacity or even some kind of, how can I say that?
Movement,
some kind of,
change.
But they wanted also to appear cool. This is this school of cool. And then it became so important in the USA that instead of being a little bit a rebel, say, I will not wear a tie on Friday and I will not dress in suit. But the result, they wanted these people to be rebels, but they ended up as being the major trend and being the leaders of a flock, because now you go everywhere, specifically in the USA on Friday. There's no tie to be seen and people are wearing the same uniform, a chino and a polo shirt and stuff like that. So you see, it's a little by little, things have been, deteriorating. And now we are reaching a peak in which, it's maybe, there's a lot of different explanations for that. But when you dress in a suit right now, before, when you were dressing in a t-shirt in a business meeting, that was a statement to say, I'm a cool guy, I don't give a crap about your suits and ties and everything. And the tie is a symbol of the of a boss subduing his poor employee and forcing him to wear a tie. All this kind of BS, which is not very interesting. So little by little, it deteriorated. And then if we reach a peak right now, and there's something that really has changed everything, and we are moving a little bit away from the sartorial world, but it's the impact of social media in the last 10 years, I would say 10 years, and with a real peak these days, in which anybody, specifically on Twitter, if you want to have an audience on Twitter, you have to be outraging, you have to be offended, you have to use blasphemy, you have to be violent, you have to bash people. We are in a bashing situation right now. So it's a mix between...
Negative news sells very well.
Exactly, but it's a mix between something which is a movement about convenience and comfort, and also a rejection the clothes of their fathers. There's always a conflict of generation. My father, my grandfather, they were wearing a tie. I will not do that. My own father, who passed away last year, he was from this generation who rejected, the uniform tie and suit from their grandfather. And now we are moving toward open your eyes, open your ears. I know you two have open eyes and open ears on everything. And now we are reaching a peak in vulgarity on social network, people insulting each other, people bashing each other. So I think also that what we do is a reaction to all these things. And there's a word which is extremely toxic, in my opinion, is the word transparency. This is extremely toxic. It's the wrong belief that your private life and your public life are only one. But that's not true. I have a private life and I have the right to do whatever I want. And I don't have, even if I'm a public figure, I'm not speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for politicians, for example. In my country, they don't even dare to wear nice suits. The last guy who was wearing Bespoke suit in France has been criticized for that because his suits were very, very expensive. And so people, they always boil it down to the price. And then also, for your second question about, being sartorially...
The suit being intimidating.
Yeah, or being human. So it can be intimidating for people who are not used, who are young people, you see. But you mean intimidating for the people who is wearing, or intimidating for others, in front of others? Is it? Clarify your question, please.
I mean, when you go into like an event or a situation where there's a group of people, and let's say it wasn't such a formal event like a brand event or anything. Maybe it's a gathering of friends.
Yes.
And some person will dress like Alex, and the others will probably dress down like me. A lot of people will find the Alex, if he didn't say anything and I didn't say anything, it would be, for a lot of people, harder to approach Alex than maybe me. I would say so.
Because they would be impressed by the way.
They will be intimidated by his suit. I think nowadays, while you're talking about those Cary Grant and Mr. Astaire, like
Fred Astaire,
it was a normal thing.
Yeah.
Now, when you wear a suit, they feel it's something to do with power. It's something to do with you trying to say a statement. Is this guy somebody? Does he make a lot of money? Is he in finance? Is he trying to make money out of me? Yeah.
I understand your question. Well, there's a very simple answer to that, is that it's the same in the watch world. We can make a comparison with that because it depends with who you are. If you are not in a company where people are a little bit educated in tailoring or bespoke tailoring or in high-level suiting, the only thing they will be able to notice is that you wear a suit. Nothing more, nothing less. It can be a crappy suit off the rack that you pay for $100. You have to be educated. So very few people will be able to say, oh, this guy is dressing very elegantly with a bespoke suit, but they don't understand at all what lays behind, and it's not about the price, it's about the craftsmanship behind, it's about stuff like that. So it can be a little bit, but this is why I was telling you at the beginning of this show, of this podcast, is that it's not about garments only, because if Alex, and I know him well, is dressing very sharp, if he shows up in a gathering wearing his suit, I know him sufficiently to know that, to be confident that he will put people at ease very quickly, and even with a little bit of humor or whatever. It's all about making sure that people around you are at ease. And if they are not, it's not a sin to remove your tie or to, I don't know, you understand, just relax a little bit in order to adapt to the situation. Take your jacket off, to really tune with the company. This is why I said my definition is not of of my definition of sartorial. It's my definition of elegance. Elegance is the capacity to make other people at ease in your company. And this is an extremely important concept. I want to make a little comment on Fred Astaire, because you quoted Fred Astaire recently. Do you know the main difference between these Hollywood stars from the 1940s and 50s, 30s to 50s, and the movie stars of today? And we must be honest with each other. None of them are kicking ass in terms of style. And do you know the difference between those people and the people of the modern movie? It's very simple to understand. Fred Astaire, Gary Cooper, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, Clark Gable, all these people, when they were dressing, they were, you know, back in this year, they were under contract with studios, Paramount, 20th Century Fox, Columbia, etc. Most of the time, if not all the time, Astaire, Cooper, Grant, Stewart will use their own garments in the film. And as most of them, and specifically Astaire and Grant, were tailoring freaks, they were really, really interested in tailoring, well, they will go to their tailor in Savile Row, mainly in Savile Row, but also in Cinecittà in Rome, where, you know, it was a lot of Hollywood films were shot in the 1950s. All of them will use their own garments. And it makes a huge difference, because when you use your own suit, you can, there's no barrier between you and the public, because your own suit reflects your own personality. And this is why I think we admire so much these people. Now you look at a film, even a James Bond film or whatever.
You get paid for it.
Well, exactly. It's a stylist. Most of the time doesn't even know what sartorial means. He doesn't know what a color gap is. They don't know, you know, it's most of the time. And so the garment itself doesn't say anything anymore. It's just a contract with a couturier or with a brand of menswear, and there's no personal relationship between the actor and his garment. And Astaire is very interesting. He was choosing, he was using his own wardrobe and of course his own shoes, because he was a tap dancer. But it was the same also for Cooper, for Grant, for Stewart. And that's a little thing that very few people know. And and this is why they were very linked to the bespoke tailors in Savile Row and in Rome. Ciponelli, for example, that you know quite well, Alex. Yes. They crafted. I did a tutorial talks with Lorenzo 2 months ago, and he came here and he revealed they are very discreet, as you know, but he revealed that, for example, they have been dressing Cary Grant many times. When Cary Grant was coming to Italy to shoot Hollywood film, because Italy was the low-cost studios back in the 1950s in Rome, a place called Cinecittà. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question very well, but it's all about when you want to really, if you dress to so many people use this sentence, dress to impress. And I think this is a wrong path. You don't dress to impress. You can dress to be at your best, but being at your best doesn't always require to impress. And this is why this idea of putting people at ease around you kicks in. And this is, for me, the epitome of elegance. You well dressed, you kick butts, you are really, really, you know, you dress as sharp as a razor, but you don't try to put yourself under the lights, you consider other people, and you have the natural elegance of being discreet. Even if with me, with my long hair, it's quite difficult.
Just moving on a little bit, because if it does go into what you said before about the Brooks Brothers like stack suit. So I'm just responding to what you said, you know, how it was very baggy and not very kind of cut in a certain way. And now when I go on Instagram, everything is almost skin tight. Like it's like if things aren't skin tight, Superman suit. I see when people wear their trousers.
We call them superhero suits.
Yeah, when they wear the trousers, you can see the muscles, And, obviously they're quite built, but I look at it and I think, obviously they're quite short at the ankle area and are we, because I did read something in the rake and it was talking about how actually we're going to this phase of like super tightness, which is actually not that stylish or cool. And actually it's about comfort as well. And there should be enough space to actually move. Like it's almost gone
the other
like
way.
180 degrees opposite to the baggy suit. Is that another example of the youth rebelling against what they saw their fathers wearing and just going totally way too far?
I don't think so in this case, Daniel, because it's just, it may be a little bit of a reaction, but it's, I know no bespoke tailor in the world who will accept to make you a superhero suit, because you may
next time I'll get
Superman.
Lorenzo to message and do something like that for you.
Yeah. You may be Superman, but it's better to keep your Superman attitude in privacy, I think, when you undress.
But that's no. Speaking of which,
I don't think, just to finish to answer your question, I don't think this is a big trend. It will disappear.
No.
I mean, this thing of tight suits. You know why the people, they do this? Because they want to show their biceps, their glutes, and this is exactly what it is, my friend. And then there's a big rush these days. But honestly, I like, Alex knows me quite, I like suits that are very sharp and very close to the body, but never going as far to that. This trend, my friend, is going to disappear. It's just because they want to show to the girl that I have big biceps. That's all, nothing else.
No, but that said, I want to go back to two of your initial points, because the first one I think is really important. Do you think we kind of endow energy from the things that we purchase? So you mentioned when you was wearing that chiffonelli suit, you kind of took energy from that and you felt a different way. Actually, with watches, it's almost the same thing. It's not about it being a blinged out diamond Rolex or Hublot. You can actually wear a nice Patek Philippe 5270 or something, or 5970. You put it on, very discreet. Only you know about it, but you feel a certain way.
Exactly. It's the same idea. And you know that in a bespoke suit, you don't have a label. You know that.
You don't.
Well,
you
Alex.
don't.
You don't have if you want, you have a label inside the inside pocket. That is to say, you really have to, it's a very symbolic movement. If you really want people to know what is the brand of your suit, you have almost to remove your jacket, dig into the inside pocket and see a little thing, normally handwritten, with the date. So it's it's not for showing off, for sure. Yeah.
But I think there are certain tips which I really like about the education of Sartorial. It's the subtlety in terms of the cut, as well as also details. Like Liverano, who I'm a big fan of, they don't have the dart in front of the breast. They put it on the side, so it's almost one clean piece. You look at Chiffonelli, you look at their lapels and the shape and the size, or the shoulders of the cigarette, the cigarette shoulder. So it's all these little details which you kind of get hints and go, right, that is this particular tailor. So it's kind of, you have to spend the time to really understand it.
And educate yourself. I guess it's the same I guess it's the same in watchmaking. If you're not educated on the watchmaking and you see a guy wearing a Simplicity by Philippe Dufour, if you're not educated, it can look like a Tissot or a Frédéric Constant at 2000. You understand? If you're not educated, and this is the same for bespoke tailoring. Honestly, even it's really the same thing. Only you know what is inside. But what is the first part of your sentence is a very nice point of view that you catching the energy from the thing you buy. And I will go even further than that. You know why you catch energy? It's simply because bespoke tailoring, and I suppose to some degree, when you order a specific timepiece from a great maker, most of the time you have to wait a little bit. You can't take it like that, even if you are a multi-billionaire, you just can't take it. It's the same for Chiffonelli. It's the same for Saviro. It's the same for all the tailors in Italy, in France, in England, etc. Isn't it paradoxal? You pay quite a huge amount of money. For most of people, it will be their budget for suiting for 3 lives, just for one suit, okay? And then you pay this for what? You pay this to wait.
2
You pay
years.
this to wait. Yeah, in case of bespoke tailoring, it's sometimes we can speak of months, if not years. You're right. So isn't it crazy that you buy something and then you buy to wait, which is something which is totally contrary to the belief we have. If you have big means and a big wallet and you are successful, now you can have everything just like that, you know. And bespoke tailoring and maybe high-level watchmaking comes into balance a little bit. And why do you take energy from that? Because you've been dreaming of your suits for 6 months, 8 months. Okay, you can be pissed with that, but most of the time, it gives you a long time to dream about it, to look at the fabric, to imagine how you will look good in this kind of suit. And believe me, I have a huge wardrobe, a lot of bespoke suits, and I have more than 10 suits in progress, probably 15 in progress right now.
Wow.
I dream of each of them one by one. Even me, I'm 57-year-old, I'm a seasoned sartorialist, that's my job, but I still dream. So, and when you dream, you catch energy. That is to say, you don't only take delivery of a suit or of a high-level watch, you take delivery of something you've been dreaming of, sometimes for months and years. And in dream is one of the, I'm not talking about nightmares, I'm talking about dreams, sweet dreams. And it's not about it's not only when you are sleeping. Me, I'm dreaming right now. When I say this to you, I have in mind 2 or 3 suits that I can't wait to have. So waiting is part of the whole process. Patience, you know, something that we forgot totally.
Yeah, I think that really goes into what kind of culture we live in now, where we almost expect things in immediate. And I think, for most people, if you told them I need to spend this much money and still have to wait for the suit, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But I still think it goes back to your point of it's because you don't have the knowledge and appreciation of what is involved in making such a suit. And if you did, you would understand the process. And the same with watches, really. You have now, people wear watches to impress, but there's a certain beauty, and it does take time and time to appreciate, to get the eye to appreciate something that is vintage. A lot of people will say vintage watches, they're so old. Like, why would you want something so old? Why don't you just buy a new one, right? But it's very hard to explain to somebody, because the whole process of understanding knowledge acquisition takes time. And if you talk something too deep, you've lost them. But then if you talk something superficial, it's irrelevant to what you're actually talking about. So I think it's key to highlight that. But you two are, I know Alex and Hugo obviously are hugely into your bespoke suits, but I just, for the audience here that might not be, when you talk about bespoke suits, some people might say, okay, yeah, I'll go to Tom Ford. I'll go to Tom Ford and use their bespoke service. I will go to a certain brand to use their bespoke service. I'll get a bespoke suit. I want to make sure that that's not 100% what you mean, because I wouldn't want people to go out of this podcast and say, Hugo Jacomet said I need to get a bespoke suit. I'm going to understand this. The first thing I'm going to do is spend a lot of money down at Tom Ford, right? So yeah, or Gucci or D&G and all of them, Prada. Could you actually highlight, how does someone make a choice of a good tailor, like, or find their first bespoke suit at a reasonable price?
Yeah. So first of all, I agree with you, Daniel, about it's when you say it takes time to acquire knowledge. The key word here is education, but you have to have the will to educate yourself. And I believe in the watch aficionado community, most of the people took the time to re-educate, because, for example, and I will answer your question just after, but I wanted to make a point here. I had the luck, and this is Alex know very well. I had the luck to wear to be an ambassador for a very nice watch company called Laurent Ferrier. You know, Mr. Ferrier is the former designer of Patek Philippe for 37 years. And I had the luck to wear at my, I had the luck to wear at my wrist for 2 years, a Gallet Classique Tourbillon double spiral. Well, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but I guess it is. Good. And it's a beautiful watch. But what I loved in this watch is that the tourbillon is on the back of the watch.
Discreet.
And this is very interesting. And how? And so I had to explain so many times to the people that I'm not wearing, a few guys, I remember I was giving a lecture in Spain and a guy at the first row, he said, "Oh, you have a nice watch." And I said, "Oh, wow, you have a good eye," because, you know, Laurent Ferrier is extremely discreet and the tourbillon is on the back of the watch. And I said, "I'm very impressed that you noticed that." And then I figured out it was the head of Vacheron Constantin in Spain. That's why he knew.
He does know a thing or two about watches, yes.
Yeah. So let's go a little bit on education and about your question. First of all, let's define what we are talking about, because there's a lot of confusion about what is bespoke, what is made to measure, what is ready to wear, what is, you know. Okay, first of all, if you go to Tom Ford, you will have ready to wear at a very high price. I believe now, because they surf the wave of customization, of course, like everybody, you will not have a bespoke suit. You will have a made-to-measure suit. That is to say, these people will take your measurements, your chest, your shoulder, your legs, your quote unquote your belly, and I hope it's not too big. And are you still here?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I lost you. And so they will send your measurement to a factory. In the case of Tom Ford, they will send it to Italy. And then they will use a predetermined pattern. That is something that already exists as a cut, and just adjust it to your measurement. And then the suit will come back from the factory and you will wear it. And then they will do the minor alteration, you know, the trouser legs, stuff like that. That's MTM, made to measure. That is to say, it's not really a unique suit. It's a suit that has been reshaped to your measurements, And you can have now these days, you can find some decent industrial made to measure, and the key word here, industrial, it's made in a factory. You can find without the brown, because forget about all these brown, like, you know, Tom Ford is a very elegant guy, but he's not a tailor. I just saw that Dolce & Gabbana just released a brand called Dolce & Gabbana Sartorial. You know, of course, that they understand, they reinvent themselves as a tailors, but they are not tailors. The only real tailors that exist, unfortunately, there's a little bit in Hong Kong. It's always a great debate, you know, to see if Eastern tailors are good tailors or Far East tailors are good tailors. It's a difficult point. But a real tailor, like Chiffonelli or Comme de Lucas in Paris, like, I don't know, Michael Brown, or I just say my favorite, Joe Morgan, or you know, all these people in Savile Row, Huntsman, all these people, or also in Italy, of course, all the Napolitan tailors, but also the Milanese tailors. All these people are strictly artisans. So I believe that, for example, when Alex is buying bespoke suits, is waiting for these tailors to travel. Is that correct?
Trunk shows, going to trunk shows, yes.
The trunk shows. So buying a bespoke suit is not an easy task. You have to take your time. It's like, I suppose, buying a very high-level timepiece. You have to educate yourself, and you have to figure out which style fits you the best. Because even if a bespoke tailor is able to craft any kind of suit, he still had a style. You spoke about Chiffonelli. Yeah, Chiffonelli, they do a very structured, very charismatic, very strong shoulder. On the contrary, the Napolitan are doing something lighter. a little bit more, if I may say, and it's not an insult because I love them. It's a little bit more messy, a little bit with the slopey shoulders, with some, very strange the way they're attached to sleeve is different. So you have to define by education, by listening to our YouTube channel, our podcast, reading our blog or our books or other books from other colleagues we have, to determine what fits you the best. So to answer, I'm sorry, my answers are a little bit long, but we're on the podcast, right? We have time. And so there's a huge difference. Don't make the confusion. Custom doesn't mean all the time bespoke. Bespoke is the summit of the pyramid, okay? It's money, time, education, and the acceptance of paying a high price to wait. Made to measure is something different. It's not bad. I mean, if you don't have the wallet and you want to go custom, you want to experience what it is to have a suit cut to your measurement, well, you can go MTM. There's a lot of good brands and good salon. It's actually an explosion everywhere. Do you know, for example, that in Paris today, well, I'm speaking outside of COVID, of course. I'm speaking outside of this strange situation. But today in Paris, you can find more made-to-measure salon than Italian menswear shop, which is incredible. Because back in the years, it was all for ready-to-wear. So people are craving customization, but at the same time, they need to educate themselves because there is customization and customization.
Well, thank you, Hugo. Yeah, very clear. And I think for our viewers, I would highly recommend now. Hugo's too gentleman to do this, but I'll do it for you. Definitely buy Sartorial Talks books from Parisian Gentleman and Italian Gentleman. You'll definitely learn a few things there. But going back, so I do want to divert this conversation to watches because I think a lot of our listeners are really desperate to hear your perspective on the elegance of timepieces. So the first thing is, in the whole sartorial journey, why did it take you so long to get in a step into the world of watches? Because you was in the sartorial world for 10 years before. It's only recently this year I've noticed a few episodes you've done on watches.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been asked to express myself on these subjects for pretty much a decade. Okay. And I'm an obsessional person. I like to master at least a little. Well, we come back to the Daniel point, education. I didn't feel legit. I didn't feel legit as a person, even if I'm legit in elegance and bespoke tailoring and everything, but I didn't find very legit to express myself about watches. And then our community, which is probably close to, I would say 500,000, 750,000 people, they continue asking us, what about watches? What about watches? What about watches? And I said, I'm sorry, guys, it's the same for cars. People ask me about the cars. I drive a Fiat Cinquecento, so I'm not a real. I don't drive an Aston Martin or a Ferrari, and it's not my passion. So I'm not too much. And watch, I like watch and timepieces, but I didn't feel very legit. So first of all, it was a matter of honesty, because we speak to so many people that I don't want to speak if I'm not totally mastering my subject. And then we gave it a second thought during the first confinement. That was funny. It was not funny, actually, but it was strange that we did this. We were in America with Sonia. We were blocked in America because the borders were closed. So we had no choice to stay in America. Hopefully we have, thank God, we have a house there. So it was not that difficult. We were not in a hotel or in somewhere, we were at home. But still, and then we said, okay, we have time. We are blocked in our small bungalow, lost in the forest in North Georgia, close to Tennessee. And this is the moment maybe to, after a second thought, to say, why don't we speak about watches, but strictly from a styles perspective? That is to say, if you're wearing a beautiful bespoke suit with a crispy shirt, and you really want to finish your outfit with a beautiful timepiece, what would I choose? The important word here is Daniel and Alex, is to finish. I say to finish an outfit or to complete an outfit with a timepiece. That means in our mind, the watch is not the center of your garment, but the watch is a complement to your elegance. And it's not insulting the watchmaker to say that. So I took this from this, and this is very important because when we spoke about elegance, I see so many rich people, literally showcasing their enormous watch, with diamonds and whistles and bells, and when the guy shake your hands at the time where we were still able to shake hands, he was literally saying to you, "Hello, my friend," and he will put his wrist in front of your eyes directly and say, "You see my tourbillon, how expensive it is." And this is something which is, this is something which we wanted to avoid. So this is why we did this first episode. It doesn't mean that I know nothing about watches. Well, when you've been wearing a Laurent Ferrier double tourbillon at your wrist for 2 years, you know what a real watch is and a timepiece, and you understand, then you can feel, this living object on your wrist. So we decided to do this. And we've been researching without any price point, what was, in our opinion, the most elegant watches in the world. So it's a very daring approach, because saying the most elegant watches in the world, well, it's according to our perspective, our style, our love for bespoke tailoring. And so we selected, I think, 15, if I remember, watches.
15 watches, yeah.
Yeah, 15. But from a style perspective, and so I said in this episode 10 times that we're not professional, but of course, and what was very interesting, and maybe we're going to deep dive in that, is that my probably top 4 or 5 happened to be, and that's very strange, happened to be independent watchmaker. And it's an obsession, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just appeared to me that I'm craving this independence. Independence is a very beautiful word. It's a word to cherish in our lives too.
I think it's your appreciation of craftsmanship, really, that these artisans really, they're very small. They usually work in very small operations and confinements. So there's for sure a deep appreciation of their existence in any kind of industry. But going back to what you said about the gentleman showing you his double tourbillon in your eye, I'm pretty sure he was probably wearing a Superman suit. Yeah, for sure.
Well, he was not even wearing a suit in this case. But I have so many memories about that. This is a form of that's a form of vulgarity that it's just. But well, I mean, I don't criticize people. After all, I'm not here to give any lessons to anybody. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
If you want to showcase your triple or quadruple moon phase and tourbillon or whatever, and your watch, we can drive your car and cook for you. Why not? I mean, it's not that I don't really care. But in terms of elegance, we prefer so much, the discretion of a beautiful François Paul Journe, Chronomètre Souverain, for example, which is when you look at this watch, I want to eat it. It's so beautiful. Specifically the model in nacre. This blue nacre. It's incredible. When you speak about, we're going to probably deep dive into watches that I love, but it's funny because I didn't do it on purpose. At the end, my 5 favorite watches are all independent watchmaker, because probably I am educated in craftsmanship and also in this very subtle impression that you are wearing something exceptional, but only you and a few people in the know what it represents, in terms. So I believe that in some countries, maybe still in the Far East, there's a notion of social status, which is disappearing a little bit in Europe. I can tell you, people are, and this is, I hope, a little bit a product of our work since a decade, and it's applied to garments, but also to watches. I think people are slowly moving away from bronze and slowly going back with education to quality. And when I say bronze, I speak about it's
big groups, conglomerates.
And also brands like stupid fashion brands who are doing watches or stuff like that. It's but this is a slow movement.
Alex's favorites,
yeah. Still, people are still so happy to showcase their crappy Louis Vuitton bag. They make a line for 2 hours to buy the bag, and then the bag is barely, it probably costs less than 1,000 euro to make, and they sell it 25. Honestly, I think people with education, they are moving away from this thing, and I think that refinement now is among the younger population. Refinement is the path, and education, of course, it goes hand in hand.
I do. Well, I mean, literally, your segment that you just had there basically has so many questions that I just want to dissect even further. But the first one, because you speak about the groups in such a manner that doesn't sound particularly positive. But can you tell the audiences what are the advantages of a company being inside a group? Now, I want to say this specifically to you because I had a question previously with Carson Chan. For example, Jean Loeb was overtaken by Hermes, and I think there was some benefits in that. So not necessarily that's a bad thing. I think it actually promoted the brand even further. So then Chiffonelli used to make suits for Hermes, and I think in some ways that brought some exposure to Chiffonelli themselves. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing being part of a group. Francois Poujon is now owned 20% by Chanel, I believe. So there are, I don't know, I believe there are certain benefits to that, not just all negative, right?
Yeah. Don't, hey, come on. I'm not saying it's I'm very touched by the beautiful Breguet or beautiful Vacheron Constantin or Patek Philippe or, I'm not, or even a Blancpain. A simple Villeray Ultra Slim Blancpain is a very elegant watch. I'm not telling that it's a bad thing. Okay. I was just telling you that after I did this selection, it happened. It was a totally, I didn't do this on purpose, that my 5 or 6 favorites were from independent watchmakers. Well, I must say that I think that some exceptional objects, like, I don't know, the chronomètre contemporain from Acrivia, what's the name of, unpronounceable name, Recepi?
Recepi.
Yeah, for example. So, when you look at that, this is an absolute breathtaking watch. It's a fantastic watch, okay? And the thing is that, as far as I know, Acrivia, if you want to acquire a new one, you have to wait a couple of years or something like that. Because they still, So
unless your name's Daniel, you get it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Actually, I was in contact with this young man, Recepi, to maybe become an ambassador. But that's another story because that was in the Ferrier. Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, because he said, yeah, I would love to, Mr. Jacomet, but I have no watch. Because he's selling a lot. And so the thing is that no, a group is not bad. I mean, there's some extraordinary watchmaker, and thanks to the group, they have more means to develop their research and development. But the thing is that I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I'm an old-fashioned guy, maybe I'm an old grouchy guy, but I like the idea that a craftsman with a small team has been putting their guts on the table without the support of millions and billions, and without the support also of heavy advertisement or public relation or stuff like that. And I believe that more and more, actually, that the strongest advertisement in the world is word of mouth. And when you reach this level, I mean, Ferrier, I don't know the price now, but it's close to 200,000, I guess, a classic tourbillon 150 maybe. Yeah. François Paul Journe, we are speaking about super high level stuff. And you know what, when you see Recepi, when you have to wait 2 years to have a watch, do you really think he needs a group or he needs advertisement? No, he doesn't, because he addresses a very specific kind of people, which is close to our movement, close to our counterculture of sartorialism, and we love that. But once again, you talk Chiffonelli. Well, I have to correct you on one thing, Alex. For once, it's the first time. Okay, Ciccone made
I like to be
made
corrected.
suits for Hermes, but back in the years until 2003, I would
10?
say.
Oh, 2003, that long ago. Oh,
Well, yeah, because now it's Comes de Luca actually is making Hermes, but
okay.
whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is, Lorenzo decided to drop this because it was absolutely not good for their image. Nobody knew there was a Ciccone suit. The brown on the jacket was Hermes, and Hermes was just making a price tag.
Understood.
Like 30%. So it was more difficult for them because they were selling under the value of the suit. So this is why they dropped it. But once again, I have nothing against group. What I have against is you're gonna easily understand. And sorry to be a little bit outrageous. What I am against and what we are against in Sartorial talks and Parisian, we've been expressing ourselves a lot on that. It's not big groups, not at all. It's the people who are selling you plastic for the price of gold. And this is because there's a brand on it. Some people are ready to buy freaking plastic because there's a brand on it, and this is ridiculous. Why don't you buy a sticker of the brand? It's sufficient. You don't have to buy. Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. And this is also part of the Sartorial movement. Move away from the brand. Stop giving your money to Hugo B, to Ralph L, to whoever, Giorgio A, or to Brada
something.
and Gianni V, or these people. Stop doing that, because buy yourself a sticker, or ask your money, ask your mother to sew the logo on your shirt if you want, but don't spend your money. Go and see. And when I speak about independent watchmaker, but that's another movement that you probably know better than me, my friends. It's also what we call the native digital brands. There's a new movement that I discovered about people. They are putting everything inside the watch and cutting all the headcounts, all the middlemen, all the stores and everything, and selling directly to the public. Okay. In France, we used to say, il y a à boire et à manger into this. You can find into that really good things and really crappy things, of course. But if you have the education, it's also a movement that shows us that little by little with education, people refocus on quality, on craftsmanship, things we want to preserve. I mean, this is important. And this is where groups, when it's well done, they can be very important, because not for the successful one, but for example, classic watchmaker who are in difficulties. It can be life-saving for them to join a group. So I don't bash the groups or the financial group at all. Don't mistake me on that. But I believe that, independence, it's still something very valuable. And I believe there's a slow movement towards this, that is to say, people going away from the dictatorship of brand in terms of showing your social status to something much more. And you will see that it's also, it's a kind of an environment. When you embrace this sartorial path, you know this very well, Alex. First, sometimes you try to convince your friends to say, okay, you should try a suit for once because you're gonna feel better. But most of the time, I just noticed it. You have a tendency of gathering with people who have this same vision of life, because it goes way further, in my opinion, than only wearing a nice watch or a nice suit. It's a vision of life. How much do you love yourself in order to dress yourself at the best? And this is something which is not about egocentrism. It's something different. It's a philosophical approach.
I do want to summarize, because I feel like
I'm sorry,
things that we're into.
I'm a little bit long.
No, not at all. No, we love the input, because I think this is great for our viewers to listen, listeners to listen into. I kind of feel like I've mentioned before that tailoring and watches and having that education is a form of manners. It's kind of like it's polite to have it. You can of course do things in life without manners, without saying please, without opening the doors for people. But if you have it, it certainly helps. And having that education in tailoring and watches, they bring you that sort of ability to do that. And harking back to the quotation which you mentioned, and I really love, is about elegance is the ability to put others at ease. And with these things that put you into that position, it allows you to do it even better. It enhances your mannerisms in many ways. But I do want
to I just come in. Yeah, I want to summarize that as well. Like, it isn't so much that there's an issue with the independents, is the fact that, issue with the conglomerates. It's the fact that it's not nice to be sold crap as gold. Basically, you're being tricked into something just by the brand. And certainly some brands in the conglomerates still produce like really good stuff. But what it does, it makes it murky, makes it unclear, non-transparent on what actually you're getting. And you're just relying on the brand rather than educating. And it's, for me, it is actually no surprise that Hugo gravitated toward independence, because you actually, if you really, really want the top artisan skills, craftsmanship, that's where you go.
You have to search for it,
right? You have to search for it. Don't find it in, well, you do find it in Patek Philippe, in vintage Patek Philippe, and also Patek Philippe, which are way outside my price range. But across the board in a conglomerate, the way everything is made, like through vertical kind of manufacture processes, you just don't get it. You don't get that hand, like all this the word hand finished is probably the most abused term in the watch.
Hugo can say that as well, in tailoring as well. No, Daniel's nailed it. Daniel's nailed it. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous how people can get away with it. Like I guess we're in the phase of saying stuff and not being held accountable for it. I mean, Hugo mentioned politicians. Politicians are allowed to say anything and not really be held to any kind of responsibility. No accountability at all. And it's the same with
to add
marketing.
to your I jump in because this is very interesting what you say, is that sorry, I forgot what I wanted to say. I have so many ideas in my head. Continue. I'm sorry.
The politicians in regards to
I'll
not
just
having
say politicians,
accountability.
but what I really wanted to also, I was talking about how there's no accountability, but what I really wanted to finish on is what Hugo finished on. What he said was, you seem to meet people that actually share the same vision of how they want to live their life. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it isn't related to money, which we've somehow been brainwashed into thinking we want everything quick and we want a lot of it, right? And it's not about quantity. It's always been about quality. And it's about not just quality in what I can possess in material goods, but in actually elevating yourself in terms of your knowledge and what you want in life. And I think too many of us go in life not even forget answering the question. They don't even ask that question. So they never stop to think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. I remember what I wanted to say, sorry, is that you were talking about handmade, which is used, okay.
Unfinished.
Abused.
I tell you a little story about that. The definition of handmade and the right to write handmade on a product, whether it be a pair of shoes or a suit or a watch or whatever, a leather good even, has different definition depending on the countries. And that's something very few people know. For example, that's a nice story I have to share with you. It was 6 years ago. I received a mail very early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I saw it, of course, not at 5 o'clock because I'm sleeping. And then I opened this mail, and it's from the deputy, the assistant of Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron, back in the years, was not the president of France. He was the minister of economy and finance of the former government before he was elected. And he said he was a reader of Parisian Gentleman, this guy, not Macron, but this assistant, Congress assistant, we call them here. And he said to me, Mr. Jacomet, something happened during the night at the Senate. There was Macron wanted to modernize the economy, and they were challenging the sentence whole made by hand for the shoemakers, so that they can And he wanted to offset and to get rid of the name Bottier. Bottier means bootmaker in France. This is the highest level of craftsmanship. And so his assistant, he wasn't his deputy, he's a congressman. He woke him up because, of course, you sleep in the Senate during the night, even if. Yeah. And then he said, "You have to raise your hand and to challenge this because handmade means something." Long story short, the Congress guy came to see me, and I took him to the Berluti Bespoke atelier in France, and he discovered. He said, "Oh wow, handmade really means something." I said, yes, sir. It means a lot, to us. And then he decided. So he raised his hand, and it was not unanimity. So the law didn't pass. So we can say we helped save the real essence of handmade. And I give you another example. For example, in Italy, they say tutto fatto a mano, all made by hand in Italy. But that's a different meaning. In France, when it's written made by hand, it has to be made by hand from the very beginning to the very last gesture. In Italy, you just have to receive the shoe from Vietnam or Pakistan or whoever. You just shine the shoe by hand, and you have the right to put on it fatto a mano. You understand? So there's a huge gap between the definitions. But I agree with you is that, and this is why I guess some of the big brands, let's be blunt with each other. I agree with you. You can find extreme craftsmanship at Patek Philippe, Lange and Söhne also, for example, or this kind of brand. They have a real know-how. But nevertheless, to some degree, you pay a little bit for the name, and you pay a little bit for whether you like it or not. It's part of the global business model of these people. And I don't say that you don't pay for the name, but I guess you don't pay for the name for Journe or Recepi or Ferrier because it doesn't say much to most of the general public.
Fantastic. I mean, like Hugo, we have so much questions to ask, but unfortunately our time is limited. Our time is limited, unfortunately, with our podcast. So we have to bring you on the second one. This is too good to end. But usually within our podcast, we have something which is called quickfire. So we normally ask a series of questions, and you have to choose between and ask them as quick as possible. So we'd love to end on this note before I finish up. So basically, the first one is, how many shoes does one need in a collection?
Well, I would say if you're a real beginner, and it depends on because once again you have shoes and shoes, it's but if you are looking at quality shoes, not only totally made by hand, but Goodyear welted or hand welted. It's a little bit technical, I'm sorry, but this is my part. I just released my new book on shoes, actually, in English 2 days ago.
Yes, I would like a copy.
Yeah. You have to be fast because we are almost sold out, actually. It's
I can buy on Amazon, is that right?
No, you can't buy on Amazon because the first printing of 1,000, we decided to do it ourselves directly. So it's an extraordinary object of 4.5 kilos. And and so and then the reprint will be on Amazon. But the first printing of 1,000, all the books are numbered one by one by hand. And,
I think you should give the book to me, Hugo, because
I've
seen what Alex has done. He's used your book as a doorstop. So I think I will have better use for that.
What are you talking about?
I've been to his house,
as my Bible,
and he's put it in as a doorstop. So
I just want to take a picture and show you where it is.
I just wanted, in the light of being transparent in this whole episode, I wanted to let Hugo know that.
What an insult. Anyway,
that's cool. You have the most luxurious doorstop in the world. Anyway, so answer to your questions. Well, the problem with shoe, then you can catch the bird quite easily. But I would say with 3 pairs, that correspond to 3 different kinds of situation in life. For example, one formal pair of black or very dark brown Oxford. This is a must-have in every wardrobe. And then if you want to have something a little bit more casual, but still wearable with a suit, you can go to a Derby or Blucher, which is a slightly more sporty. And if you want something a little bit for the weekend or for something this crazy casual Friday, you can go to a loafer. But the thing is that, and then if you become a little bit more stylish and a little bit more interested in that, you can go to a double monk, for example, but it's already a stylistic statement. So I would say 3 pairs, as long as you never wear the same pair of shoes 2 times in a row, and as long as you put the woods inside your shoes, shoe trees, sorry, we say woods in France. If you put them directly after wearing, and I got a little trick for you about that, if you don't mind, because so many people said, if I have 10 pairs of shoes, do I need to have 10 pairs of shoe trees? Well, actually, it's better, but the answer is no, because the shoe trees are made to absorb the transpiration and the sweat, to remove the sweat. This is why they are mostly made of cedar wood. And so the most important is that you remove your shoes and you immediately put the shoe tree on it. And after 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, the leather will not move anymore. So you can remove your shoe tree and put it in another shoe. But of course, it's better to have shoe trees in every shoe. Sorry, it was a little compliment I wanted to add.
Very clear. No, very clear. Yeah. The second question is, how many suits do we need? Does one need?
Wow. Me, I need a lot. But well, same thing. You know, it depends on what. Well, first of all, it depends on how passionate you are. But let's say you're a normal guy, you want to dress better, but you don't have a thick wallet, and you just want to dress well. Let's say same thing. I would say 3 suits. I would say 1 gray, 1 blue, because you will go everywhere with it. Even if I prefer blue by far, I think it's much more versatile and elegant. But well, let's see. Medium gray. My first chiffonelli suit was a medium gray suit, beautiful one. I still wear it. Oh, by the way, I just had to add something about the price, because somebody asked me, oh, don't you think that suits are very expensive in Bespoke? I said, yes, but listen, I took delivery of my first Bespoke suit at chiffonelli in 2007. If you look at Sartorial talk, I still wear it very commonly. I probably wear it 20 times a year. I would say 15 to 20 times a year. So if you divide, 14, 15 years of wearing, divided
300 times, basically.
By the price you paid it, divided by the number of time you've been wearing over the years. I did a small calculation, and my Bespoke chiffonelli, which is one of the best tailors in the world, cost me less than 20 euro per day. So, well, it's 20 euro per day, but it's, half of a decent bottle of wine. Well, I don't choose because I love both, but, it's not that expensive. So I would say 3 suits, 2 business suits. Okay, if you are, I think don't go double-breasted immediately. If you're not used to it, go single-breasted, 1 gray, 1 blue. You can be at your ease in any situation in life. I would say a medium gray and medium blue, and then you need a suit for the night, which is important. So either you're not in a position when you're invited to a lot of formal events or black tie events or stuff like that. So a dark blue suit will really make it very well, a beautiful, maybe you can go double-breasted if you feel like it. It depends on your body, because it's a little bit tricky. But I would say a dark blue suit for the night. So middle blue suit and middle gray suit for the day, business occasions, and a dark blue. But I would add to this very quickly a sport jacket, a hot jacket, something you can wear with a different pair of trousers, something you can wear even with a Japanese denim, during the weekend. This is no sin. Some Japanese denim are incredible. I don't wear them, me personally, but I understand you can like this kind of thing. So a sport jacket, that is something, we call it a hot jacket for the people who don't really know what it is. This is a jacket which is not coordinated with the pants. And this is very, very, very useful. And may I add, you have to buy yourself an incredible overcoat, because that will save your
It's
life.
all adding up now. It's all adding. You guys all adding up.
I'm sorry. Even if in Hong Kong, if in Hong Kong you have not very numerous opportunity to wear a heavy flannel overcoat, but buy yourself a stunning overcoat. This is very important. 3 and 3 for the moment.
And because now, no worries. And the last two ones. I know you did a book recently, so we have to talk about it. Your favorite shoemaker.
Mm-hmm. This is who is my favorite shoemaker?
Yes, that's correct.
Only one.
Only one.
That's a torture.
I hazard a guess it's Stefan Jimenez, but I might be proven wrong.
Yeah. You said it.
Is that right? Good.
It's Stefan Jimenez. So Stefan Jimenez is an artist, is a shoemaker in Bordeaux, France. And he used to be the head of the atelier at John Loeb at the beginning of his career. And then he became the head of Stefano Bemero in Italy until year 2000, before opening his own court Rainer and cobbler house. And then he finally decided in 2016 to produce shoes under his own name. I have a project with him. We are creating a model right now in a box scarf with an insert of alligator. And it's going to be named Hugo. Well, I'm sorry for that. And I can't wait. Stefan is for me the epitome of the. For me, Stefan is the Philippe Dufour of shoemaking. You understand?
I need to get one now.
Yes, he is a very discreet guy, very blunt. You know, no marketing, no stuff like that. The real deal. And you have to wait a good year, I would say, to have. He's doing some trial shoes. He's a fantastic. You can Stefan Jimenez with a J. It's one of my. But I also love some incredible Japanese shoemaker like Tai shoemaker, TYE. Fantastic shoemakers also. It's a very interesting industry. The shoemakers are blossoming everywhere, you know, and specifically Eastern Europe is becoming very interesting. I'm sorry, I'm longer. You are stepping, if I may say.
This is quick fire. I apologize. This is quick fire. I have to try my best to keep within their grounds. Your favorite quote.
From others?
Your favorite quote in life? Yes.
Elegance.
Well, let's do others first.
Okay. I would say something like. No, let's say first learn the rules, then break them.
Oh, that's Audemars Piguet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Audemars Piguet, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Audemars Piguet is first master the rules and then break them.
Since when they use this?
That I'm not sure. But certainly it is basically, master the rules and then break them or something. Okay,
because we've been using this since 15 years already on Parisian Gentleman. It doesn't matter. Okay. And then, I think I like this one. Being a man is
being a boy first, isn't it?
Well, being a boy is a matter of chance. That is to say, you could have been born a girl. It's just luck. But being a man is a matter of age. That's you growing up from a boy to a man. But being a gentleman is a matter of choice.
Fantastic.
That is to say,
I do like that.
A gentleman. It's a matter of choice, and you will not guess. You will not guess who the quote is from. This is almost incredible because we'll say, oh, it's probably from I don't know,
Vautour or something.
No, it's from Vin Diesel. This is crazy. So this guy, we look at him and said, oh, he got the big muscles, big cars, and half of a brain. But he doesn't, actually. He is very interested. And then my favorite quote from myself, and I'm sorry because it has been quoted many, 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 many times, is that for me, and I repeat this over and over, elegance is the ability to make other people at ease in your company. And this is, for me, the backbone of everything.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And the last question, Hugo, is what are your plans for Sartorial Talks? and you have to summarize it in literally 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Big plans, moving from YouTube to a more important live stream channel. They're big names, and they invest a lot in people like us who have a big niche. And continue developing our broadcasting equipment. We just bought full equipment from Blackmagic Design, which is the new Hollywood standard. So we are now broadcasting in 6K. I think we are the only one to do that. We have 4 cameras inside our home. Basically, we are now at the level of CNN, more or less, and we can broadcast from our living room instantly anywhere around the world.
Well, we've got to do a video together at some point. But
yeah,
it's Hugo, look, it's been such an honor to have you on this episode, and we're certainly going to have you back on again soon. Again, to our listeners, you can find Hugo on Instagram at Parisian Gentleman, and also on YouTube at Sartorial Talks, and hoping for bigger things. So to our listeners, please stay in tune to the Waiting List podcast for great conversations, and we do hope to see you again soon. For myself, thank you, and thank you again, Hugo. It's been such an honor to have you on again.
Thank you, Hugo.
Thank you, Daniel.
Pleasure, my friend. Pleasure.
Excellent. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Waiting List podcast. Hit the subscribe button, and the next episode will come straight to your phone as soon as it's ready. Whilst I'm here, please remember to leave a nice review and follow us on Instagram at the Waiting List podcast.